Morning. Today is Wednesday, May 8th, 2024. This is the hearing of the Arlington Board of Equalization hearing for 2024. We have 6 cases on the agenda. The first case we're going to hear is RPC 38001-104, 1812 24th Street. I believe we have Mr. Costley on.
Yes, good morning. This is Benjamin Costley and Roger Mann, the co-owners.
Okay, and then can you turn your camera on?
Yes, can you see me now?
I don't see you, no, sir.
I'm showing the camera as on.
All right, well, we can hear you. So just, I'm going to go ahead and let you start. You have 8 minutes to tell us about the property. There you go. Okay, we got you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for taking the time this morning to hear us out. I do just want to say I really respect the county's process for how they conduct their appraisals. I have found it to be very thorough. I just want to take the opportunity to walk you through how we've looked at this and let you hear us out. So that said, overview of our property. The address is 1812 24th Street South. This is one of about 130 townhomes that sit in the Forest Hills community of Arlington. All of those townhomes in the Forest Hills community are very similar. They're of a variety of about 5 or 6 different floor plans that vary in square footage. Our home is about 3,250 square feet, has 3 bedrooms, 3.5 baths. It is a side-by-side, so we do share an east and west wall with our neighbors. It's somewhat unlike other properties in the community in that it does not have any deeded dedicated parking space, neither a driveway nor a garage. So our 24 assessed value for the property was $1,006,900. And that's what we're appealing today. In our initial appeal, I've documented that in our response to you here. I'm not going to cover it right now, so feel free to ask any questions if you'd like to. In the county's response, there were 4 comparable properties identified. So in our response to the Board of Equalization, we kind of walked through what we thought was comparable and what we thought was not comparable. So the first property, 1700 23rd Street, is in the Forest Hills community. It does have somewhat similar square footage. This is an end unit. As you can see by the picture I included, it does have windows on 3 sides. This is also a 5-bedroom home, which is 2 more than the subject property. It also has a dedicated driveway and a 1-car garage. So we really just didn't feel like this was a comparable data point to compare to our property. It also hasn't had a public sale since 2010 that we could find. The second property, 1807 24th Street. You know, we did find that this property was relatively comparable. However, we felt that the 2024 assessed value was also high relative to the community. Yeah, I included in an appendix that the average 2024 assessed value for all of the homes on our 24th Street cul-de-sac was about, it's below 980K, whereas this property was assessed at $1,051,000. This property also has an additional bedroom as a 4-bedroom and a driveway. So we really didn't feel like this was a comparable property as well. The last 2 included in the response, we did feel were more comparable. 2329 South Rolfe Street. It did have a sale in April 2023. Also the assessed value seemed pretty in line with that sale price. So this is an end unit. It does have windows on 3 sides. It does also have a garage and a driveway. So it has some attributes that exceed the subject property. And then the 4th property, 2345 South Queen Street, is smaller in square footage, but it also does have a driveway and a garage. So from an assessment about fair market value standpoint, we thought that this was probably a reasonably comparable property. So that was our response to what we received from the county. What we'd like to request from the Board of Equalization is, you know, to look at it from a comparable sales standpoint is how we viewed fair market value. So in calendar year 23, we found 4 public sales of Forest Hills townhomes, and we included that in our note to the Board of Equalization. Also included a table that summarized the sale prices in the 2024 assessments. So when we look at those, the average 2023 sales price of $946,250 and the average assessed value of $937,000, you know, we just feel that our assessment at over $1 million is not fair market value relative to the community that we live in. You know, and we cited this in our original appeal. If you look at the sale prices going back to 2021, townhomes in this community consistently sell by and large between $900,000 and $1 million. So ultimately, our recommendation was, you know, to have an assessment that falls in that range. So we're recommending the average sales price of $946,250. You know, we recognize the methodology of effective age, and I don't disagree with it. I think it's hard to assess from a fair market value standpoint. There's a certain amount of subjectivity that goes into it. I mean, ultimately, you know, I think there can be differing opinions on that. So with that, I'll yield my time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Vitus for the county, please.
Hi, good morning. So in my write-up, I think we're going to recover a lot of things as well. So if you hear things twice, I apologize. An interior inspection of the property was conducted on March 4th of 2024. The subject property is a 3-story brick townhouse. It was built in 1979 with an effective age of 1995 and a quality of excellent. It does have 3 bedrooms, 3 full bath, and 1 half bath. As the appellant stated, they believe that their assessment is above fair market value. Looking at sales and trends in the neighborhood, that they feel like their assessment should have only increased a maximum of 1%, and their fair market value should be $898,496. In their write-up, the appellant has also noted that their home does not have a driveway or a garage when many of their neighbors do. Before the 2024 neighborhood changes were accounted for, the subject property saw an increase in value due to the completion of a kitchen and primary bath remodel, which took place in January of 2023. The effective age of the improvement was increased 16 years from the original age of 1979 to 1995. This is why the property saw a greater increase in its value, more so than other homes within the neighborhood. Regarding the issue of the property having no driveway or garage, the county does not assess homes higher if they have a driveway and does not assess them lower if they do not have one. Garages are assessed within the build-up cost of the property and the square footage of the home. Looking at the comps that we've provided, we provided 2 sales comparables, which are 38,001,071 and 38,001,132. Both these homes sold within the 2024 analysis. Both homes are assessed and sold slightly lower than the subject property, but we felt that these were good comps. They show what something that does have a smaller square footage and a lower effective age are selling for, compared to a home with larger square footage and a higher effective age with more updates. We also did provide 2 assessment comparables, which are 38,001,204 and 38,001,167. Both these homes do have similar square footages to the subject property. One of them, 38,001,204, does not have a driveway, while the other one does. And as you can see through those through their total assessments, they are being assessed similar to the subject property. In regards to the homes that are in units versus central units, there is a 5% difference in their LMs to account for those different positions in the rows. Based on our inspection and based on the comps provided, we feel that their 2024 value of $1,100,000 can be confirmed as fair and equitable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you both. All right, questions from the board? We'll start for the county. Ms. Vitus, I heard you say that you don't give any increase or decrease for a driveway or lack of driveway or a garage.
Yes.
Okay, so in this case, because it's not a single family, the reason that the property, the subject property has more square footage is because it doesn't have the garage.
Correct.
So it's kind of like comparing apples to oranges. I mean, some people would say that the value of a garage has some merit, and would prefer that as opposed to just, larger livable square footage. So it seems kind of odd that that's not considered.
So again, with many of the way that we do our assessments year to year is just based on sales comparables. When we're looking at seeing if adjustments need to be made for having a garage versus not having a garage, we look at those trends in sales from year to year and keep track of them as well. And at this time, we just see no need to add a difference in the records for that garage versus no garage. And again, it just comes down to the cost buildup of the home. Some people would argue that having no garage and having more square footage is more valuable to them versus other people. It just comes down to sometimes personal preference with that. It's kind of like having a pool. Some people like pools, other people see them as a nuisance or an extended cost. But again, right now with the sales that we've been tracking year to year, we've seen no need to make an adjustment for garage versus no garage.
All right, other questions? Mr. Lawson?
Yeah, I live in a condo and my parking space is assessed at 10 grand, I think it is. And the owner's calling this a driveway. I mean, I think it's, instead of driveway, we could call it a parking space. And so why wouldn't not having a parking space in what looks to be somewhat congested neighborhood, why wouldn't that be worth 10 grand?
So again, when it comes to townhomes versus condos, there are a lot of differences. As I work residential, not condo, I can't necessarily speak to the way that they assess parking spaces. On the residential side, it's just not something that we see is necessary at this time. The neighborhood itself does have ample street parking, and the specific cul-de-sac does have parking spaces available.
Yeah, I looked at it and I see that there is street parking, but still, you want to do some work on your car or something. It's much easier if it's just on your driveway in your parking space.
Okay.
Thank you.
For the department, to follow up quickly on Mary's questions, some townhome developments seem to value and are assessed more for end units and some aren't.
Mhm.
In this project, have you found sales difference between end units and interior units or not?
So yeah, so as noted, there is a 5% difference or a 5-point difference in our location multipliers between the end unit and center units.
Oh, that's what I heard that, but I didn't integrate it. Okay, so there is a difference. They're a little bit more valuable. Okay,
Yeah.
great. And the other question is, do you know what the average increase was for this community year over year?
If you give me 1 second, I can scroll down to the analysis.
Yeah.
It was 5.9%.
Thanks a lot.
Any final questions? Mr. Yates?
Parking a little bit. Are there assigned spots out along the street or is it free for all? Hope you find one.
Yeah, hi, this is Roger Mann. I'm the co-owner. There are a handful of spots on the cul-de-sac where there's a sign saying this is for HOA owners only. And there is a spot that has sort of been designated by our as 1812. It was not deeded to us, and I'm not sure we would have any legal recourse if we had a neighbor start parking in the spot that we normally park in. We've just been lucky to have very nice neighbors.
Greg, did you have a question?
I was going to ask where you guys park.
Okay.
So
All right, with that, it's right. Take a minute to wrap up.
Oh, sorry. Again, I'd just like to reiterate that with the parking spots, we've seen no need for an adjustment to properties that have them versus properties that do not have them. If there was, I think that we would have seen that in the appellant's sales price, which in 2021 sold for $899,000, when the 2021 assessment was $8,190. I'm sorry, I'm saying numbers so bad this morning. But again, we've seen no reason to make adjustments for the parking spots versus non-parking spots. There isn't a requirement to buy a house if you have if you don't have a car. So we believe that the current assessed value is considered fair and equitable, and we would argue that it should be confirmed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And gentlemen, if you would take a minute to wrap up, please.
Nothing from us, any further.
I just want to make one point relative to the effective age calculation is when I pull the multiple listing service descriptions for all of the recent sales going back to 21, I would say all but 2 of them have references to significant upgrades. So I question that methodology slightly with imperfect information. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, all of you. Okay, it's just among the board. I just, top of my head, I would disagree that there's not value to parking. And I mean, the relevance of the 2021 purchase price has none to me. I mean, I look at this and think, you know, the square footage is smaller just because of the fact that it's got a garage, and it's not a huge difference, but I think the assessed value of comp 1 is really more in line. I don't see where our property could be any higher than that.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Mr. Morris.
I looked at this like a realtor, and I looked at the 2 recent sales in the neighborhood. So there's one for $985 and one for $1 million. They do have an extra bedroom, but they also have the parking space. So I have trouble confirming the assessment above $1 million when the highest sale in the neighborhood recently has been $1 million, and it had an extra bedroom and the parking space.
And it was during the assessment period that sale.
Well, it was, let's see.
That was recent.
It was very recent.
Very,
Very
very,
recent, yeah. So.
yeah, I mean, a little bit different world with interest rates.
Mr.
Yeah,
Morris.
my parking space at my condo is 10 grand. And if I didn't have it, I'd park blocks away.
Well, it's different though in a high
It'd be a
rise.
mess.
You know,
So, but I do think there's value, but I don't think it's 10 grand. And I actually did a little bit of research, and I saw that I 5 to 7 grand. So I personally think we ought to lower it by about 5,000. I'll see if anyone agrees.
The comp 1 has that additional bedroom, does not have the parking spot, but it's definitely got a higher value.
Assessed value, right?
Yeah,
Well, compound's got the garage. The drive.
no, comp 1 does not have the garage.
Oh, he's looking at
You're on,
assessment.
you're on,
Oh,
assessments,
yes.
comparable sales, I'm looking.
Yeah.
You know, which.
Those are all under $1 million. Yeah, I mean,
The fact that there's not a third sales comp also, it's a stretch.
The no parking unit, once you push up into and you're asking $1 million plus for it, when there's sales that have parking in your neighborhood that are under $1 million.
Yeah.
I just don't see how that
An
jives.
N unit, I know they'll argue that the N unit isn't more, but who does want more naturally?
Yeah,
No neighbor wants that.
so, I mean, I thought probably worth more. I mean, I wanted to get it down below $1 million, so I did a 5% discount, which came to $956,600.
Interestingly, I came up with almost the exact same number, but I said, well, it should be higher than the average increase for the community because they have an improved kitchen and, well, the effective age has gone up. So instead of 5.9, I just arbitrarily made it 7%. And it came out to almost the exact same number. I'll tell you, it's 960,000.
So you're looking at both, Greg, the garage and the parking spot.
I think a parking.
His driveway would be just as good as a garage.
I think that's
You
worth a
know,
lot.
but to have nothing on trash day when the bins are out there and everybody's shuffling around and you come home with your groceries and you got to park on Army Navy Drive and walk a quarter mile. That sucks. And if you're like, if it's a $400,000 unit in Boston, and you live in
Yeah.
Metro Life, that's one thing, but, it sucks the wind out of your grocery
There
tray.
you go.
So, yeah, I mean, it's tough when you get up into the million
So what's your
range.
number?
I had 956, 600.
You're beat.
Everybody look at that?
Yeah.
That's certainly,
I don't think I would vote down low to be honest. Something, again, looking at us, broker as a real estate agent, I think there's value, definitely there's value in driveway, not only in this community, but looking at others. If I were going to do a market analysis, it's $10,000-$15,000 from just on the fact that you can park just for yourself.
Sure.
Like a reserve space, nobody else can use it.
and so what would you value that at?
I mean, discounting 15,000, I come up with that.
Yeah, I'd like,
I would go down low just on a percentage basis. I think that's a high reduction.
Yeah,
just
well, I mean, I think
parking.
it's in line with what comp one is, because I don't think it can be assessed higher than comp one.
What, Jose, what if there's a, the famous party or one of the towns gets rented to, or unrelated people, and all of a sudden there's a parking. Or they do this in the middle. Sorry.
Buyer's got to figure that out.
Based square footage that you can use as a living space inside. Most of the time, we don't really see that much difference. Separate driveway.
yeah,
So where are you?
I like, I wouldn't go lower certainly than the 9.
I thought 10, he says 15. I could,
Yeah.
I like Greg's number, 956.6.
Barnes, where are you?
Oh, I'm at the 991.
That's good, that's,
Okay, well, hold on. Got 1, 2, 3,
The 3-3.
3-3.
4. No, I think, where are you?
I can do the 15. I was looking at 10,000.
Go to the 957.
Yes, I will.
You can do that?
Yes, I do think it needs, but I'm looking at lands.
Let's see.
I'm looking at-
Yeah, I mean, the other point I would make is that it was 889 in 2021 at 2% interest rates, and they did a kitchen renovation, right? So that's $60,000
Yeah,
more
I
than that
think that's-
price.
Okay, you're okay with that?
Yeah.
I don't want it to fail. Okay, then I'm gonna move to reduce it to 957.4 to match it to comp one. Do I have a second?
Also,
The second by Mr. Mendez. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, so it's 5-2, that's without Mr. Penaranda and Mr. Matskin. The assessments reduced to 957,400 based on the first half provided by the county. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Okay, do we have Miss Lighter?
Hi, yes, I'm on the phone.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
The second case on the agenda is RPC 31018030 at 2042 South Nelson. Ms. Slater, you can start with your 8 minutes and tell us about the structure.
Hi, I have a 3-bedroom, 1 full bath, 1 half bath, half of a duplex that was built approximately 20 years ago. The total square footage above ground is 1,080. The lower level is not finished. There have not been any significant renovations or upgrades to the property. I am a corner unit or lot on the corner of 22nd Street and South Nelson. There is an easement over my property for my neighboring duplex to reach their parking pad. I have 1 parking spot off street. My neighbor has 1. I'm trying to think of what else is it that normally you would like to know?
Anything you want to tell us?
Okay, sorry. I distinguished the properties that the appraiser used. I don't know if you all saw those, but The first property that was used was 1945 South Lowell Street. That property was recently renovated. It has an additional full bathroom. It has parking for 4 cars, which in this neighborhood is very valuable. We have had issues with some of the religious organizations using our streets for parking. As well, that home has a fully finished basement and a separate full kitchen in the lower level besides a full kitchen on the first floor. Both kitchens are brand new and the house has new mechanical systems. The second home that the assessor considered was 3804 Kemper Road. That home again was recently renovated, brand new kitchen and bathrooms. It has an extra full bath instead of a full bath. It has hardwood compared to my laminate. And it has a completely finished and livable lower level. And it has 1,234 square feet, which is almost 200 square feet more than my home. So I am basing my proposed assessment on 2 other properties, 3726 Kemper Road. It has 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. It has 1,304 square feet, and it's sold for $510,000 on April 20th, 2022. I feel my home should be valued slightly less than this 3726 because I don't have 2 full baths, nor do I have as much square footage. I also don't have a renovated home, renovated kitchen, or renovated bath. Similarly, 2422 South Oakland Street has 2 bedrooms, 2 baths. It was completely renovated with a new kitchen and new bath, as well as a completely finished lower level, and it has more square footage than my home at 1,326 square feet. The home sold for $530,000 on October 25th, 2023. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Vitus for the county, please.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I'm asking the county to present their
Oh.
side.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Can you turn your microphone on, please?
Sorry, I kept turning it off so I didn't hear the construction noise outside. So hello again. So an exterior and interior review of the property was conducted on March 25th of 2024. The property is a 2-story brick side-by-side with a quality of average. It was built in 1993 with an effective age of 2003. It has 3 bedrooms, 1 full bath and 1 half bath. Again, just to reiterate, the appellant believes that the 2024 assessed value is above fair and equitable. In the write-up, the appellant did mention the 2 properties, 2422 South Oakland and 2453 South Monroe. Both these homes sold during the 2023 analysis for less than the appellant's current assessed value. Unlike the subject property, both homes do have 2 full baths and are slightly larger in square footage. The appellant feels that because that both these properties mentioned do have more square footage and that second full bath, they should be assessed higher than the subjects, and the subjects should be assessed lower. While both the comps submitted by the appellants do have 1 more full bath and have more square footage than the appellant, both these homes were built 50 years prior to the subject. Being substantially older homes with updates, they are receiving a higher depreciation factor, around 20%, whereas the subjects, which does has updates as well, but is a newer build, is only receiving that 10% update. Sun just came in. The number of bathrooms and other features that the home does have or doesn't have is reflected again in that cost buildup of the home. Looking at both records for both comparables submitted by the appellant, both homes are being assessed at a higher plumbing rate to reflect those additional fixtures in their home. Looking at sales from the 2024 analysis in both the 510086, which is the adjacent neighborhood, and the 510087, which is the subject's neighborhood, both the appellant's effective age and quality appear to be correct. During the inspection, no changes were made to the record. And again, we can move to the comps here. Looking at the comparables submitted by the county, as you can see through those sales, they are all of these are slightly similar to the appellant in the finished square footage. They do have finished basements and that additional full bath that the appellant has discussed. But as you can see, they are being assessed for more than what the current assessment of the appellant is, which again can be that additional bathroom can be reflected in that assessment. Looking at the assessment and the sales, we believe that the 2024 assessed value of $545,600 can be confirmed as fair and equitable. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Bob.
Hi.
Questions from board members?
I'm sorry. Can I just jump in? I want to correct something the assessor said.
Sorry.
I
Excuse
do not
me,
have a,
excuse me. You'll get a
Yes.
chance to wrap up when we're done. We're going to ask questions first.
okay, perfect.
Hold on a second. Okay, questions from board members. Mr. Mendez.
Yeah, I have a question for the appellant. The new proposed value from the appellant and the original appraisal from the county, there's a $50,600 difference. How did you quantify that amount? How did you come up with the number you came up with?
I came up with that number based on the square footage that my home does not have, as well as the fact that I do not have a finished basement and I do not have an extra full bath. And in some of the homes that were comparables, they had additional parking, which I know that was a discussion in the prior hearing. It is actually very valuable in Arlington County. And I do think that a dollar figure can be assigned to that.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Metzger?
I have a question for the department. Why didn't you use the appellant's comps in your comp sheet?
Typically because when we're looking at the comp sheets, we only add the comparables submitted by the county, which is historically what we've done in the past. We've never added, to my knowledge, comps in the comp sheet.
They're legitimate, they're within the assessment period and
Yes.
correct neighborhood and all that stuff. Okay, which would have been useful. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, this is for the owner. During Ramadan, how bad was the parking down there?
The parking has been so bad that I have called the police, and several people's driveways have been blocked, impeding their ability to access their parking spots. It could mean parking several blocks away at whatever hours services are. And it's not just Ramadan, it's actually their weekly services, I believe on Fridays and maybe Saturdays. So it has had an effect on the neighborhood. But again, I believe this is all of Arlington. I mean, the county is dense, and if you have a parking spot, you know that you can go home to that in the evening, and it's guaranteed, and it's the same spot each evening. Having 4 of those is even more valuable.
Just to clarify, the 4 is those are taken out of the front lawn, the driveway?
Well, 4 parking spots is what was in one of the comparables used by the county, and that's significant. I mean, if you have...
That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking that's
Okay.
taken from the front lawn area, correct?
At my property?
No, you keep talking about the property that has 4 spots. It's off of their front lawn, correct?
There was one property where there are 4 spaces. It was a paved driveway.
Right, on the front lawn, correct?
Yes, or a driveway on their front lawn,
Okay, thank
like
you.
a parking pad. Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, any final questions? No, Ms. Vitus, if you take a minute to wrap up.
So again, we appreciate the appellant taking the time to work with her renters to give us access to her home to allow us to see the interior of it. When looking at the sales provided, we believe that the current assessment is fair and equitable. In regards to the easement, the county was not aware of this easement prior or during the sale or during the inspection. And we can definitely take a look at it going forward. But again, we recommend that the current assessed value be confirmed as fair and equitable. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Leiter, if you take a minute to wrap up, please.
Yes, I believe the assessor may have said, I do not have a brick duplex. I have a vinyl sided duplex. And also I believe that the assessment is high. It doesn't reflect, the lack of a full bathroom, the lack of a finished basement, and the lack of upgrades, as well as just having a single parking spot with an easement. Thank you.
Okay, thank you both. Okay, it's just among the board members. Mr.
Yeah,
Lawson.
I'll just share some information for what it's worth. I represented the mosque and they're going to build a parking lot, but they've encountered a number of issues that they had to resolve in order to do that. I don't know how much it'll help because they have a large attendance during certain holidays and certain times. This neighborhood is like, has duplexes and single family houses. The single family houses don't seem to have the problem that the duplexes did. And we walked the neighborhood, we had meetings with the neighborhood, and we came up with a bunch of conditions that obviously aren't being totally adhered to. So, I mean, how do you enforce not blocking driveways? So I think there is a problem down there with duplexes that don't have parking, especially if you're renting it. And I'll just share that with my committee for what it's worth.
Right, I have two issues with this so far. I mean, the appellant's talking about square footage. And there's a difference between, because if you look on the grid on page 2, counting the basement as full square footage. If you look, it's split out. The 3 comparable units all have finished square footage, but it's not counted the same as above grade. And then second, the issue with the parking, you can provide, that was the point I was trying to get, parking on these lots, because it's not like in a townhouse where there's a POA and you can't do things. You can put a driveway in it. The person that she, or the count that she's referencing that, put enough for 4. I'm sure I would go as far as 4, but there's the ability in the duplex to remedy it as opposed to in the townhouse where there's rules that you can't just take it upon yourself to do. So I think it's just slightly different.
She might have a problem though, Mary. It sounds like there's a easement to her neighbor that probably goes along this property line, her rear. And I think to put a curb cut here, you don't have the distance from the intersection. So I'm not saying she can't, but she may have a problem adding parking. I don't know. I haven't seen the plat of the property.
Be a pretty steep ramp.
Is it steep?
It's on like a 5-foot retaining wall around the property, where the sidewalk is. But she's got parking.
And she has her dedicated space.
Other thoughts?
I don't have any problem with the assessment for 2 reasons. I think this is, most of the comparables are comparing to the older duplex units. And this is definitely not a brick unit like a 5 CK. He has by it's one of the newer, well, not newer, but in the 90s.
Newer than the last.
And I think historically they had more value than. I'm okay with this.
Yeah, I was worried about the siding, but the property card says masonry, just the basement, and first and second floor says vinyl siding.
But it is like,
She's got the vinyl siding.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Someone like to make a motion?
I'll go ahead and move the we confirm the assessment at 545, 600.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second by Mr. Metzger. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. The county is confirmed at 545,600. Thank you both.
Thank you. You guys have a great rest of your day.
We have Neil Cotton. And Mr. King. Mr. and Ms. Cotton on? Okay. Okay, is Mr. Sprinkle on? No, all right, then we will go ahead and hear case number 3. Without the appellate, RPC 01010031 and 2749 North Wyoming Street. The absence of the appellate, Mr. King, if you would tell us about the properties.
Sorry, you said 2749 Wyoming?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, board. The property at 2749 North Wyoming Street is a one-story single-family home with 3 bedrooms and 2 full bathrooms. We did not perform an inspection on the property this year, but I was able to find a rental listing photos that have been attached to the case. The property has been set up into 2 rentals after the appellants bought the property in 2022, whereby the basement unit received updates and a kitchen upgrade from the previous wet bar, turning it into a full kitchen. These are some changes that were made to the property during the review process that did change the value somewhat, but they weren't taken back to January 1 value, but they will go forward to the 2025 valuation. The subject property was included in the 2024 sales analysis for 501-001. I know it was a low sales value, but we didn't kick it out or anything. We kept it in there for our analysis purposes. It was open market and listed. It was exposed to the market, so we treated it as an open market sale. Regardless, the sale comparables provided by the apartment show a strong market for the area along I-66 in this section of the county. 7005 Fairfax Drive is down the street from the subject property. This will be on the sales comp sheet. That's comparable number 2. Obviously, this is a larger property than the subject, but it did sell for $1,180,000 and is quite near to I-66 and is on Fairfax Drive. 2811 Northwest Moreland is comparable number 1. It's east of I-66 compared to the subject being a little bit west, but it's a similar distance away with the same adjustment on the land. Overall, the property is quite similar to the subject, being a 1-level property with 3 bedrooms and 2 full bathrooms. And this sold for $940,000 during the analysis period. And then also 1827 North Underwood Street is a slightly updated older property. It's near the East Falls Church Metro, so it's a little different area, but it is exposed to the sounds and sights of being near the metro station and I-66. It's slightly larger than the subject, but it sold for $1 million. So overall, the comparables along I-66 in this section of the county show a strong market for these properties. We did adjust the value for 2025 to reflect the changes made to the basement for that being a rental now. And we are applying a negative adjustment to the subject to reflect its location along I-66. But combined with the interior changes over 2023, the department recommends a confirmation of the 2024 assessment of $895,000. Thank you.
Questions from the board? I just want to confirm, Mr. King, so the 5% negative adjustments on comps 1, 2, and 3 are all for the I-66.
On 1 and 2, comp number 3 does not have an adjustment for it, but
Just want to make sure. Okay, thank you. Other
Yes.
questions? No?
Let
Okay.
me ask one.
Mr. Metzger.
This sale seems, and it's, in the assessment period, there's lots of houses around it. Seems so much lower than anything comparable, not only in sales, which are limited, but in the neighbors. What do you call them? I'm so sorry, I've never done this before. The neighborhood comps. I looked up, on either side of them.
yeah.
And,
I mean,
I can say it differently and more succinctly. I'm sorry. This just seems out of character. Did you take this into account at all, given that it's during the assessment period?
We left it in. I mean, it was sold out of, it was an estate sale. It was marketed for quite a long time. So maybe there was some issue going on there with it being an estate. Maybe the estate was difficult to deal with. But it was exposed for a total of 171 days. It's just hard to say either way. We did leave it in. It was extremely low. It was much lower than anything we've seen, for the past few years. It's strange that a builder didn't come in and bite on this, but they don't buy every property, which makes it sometimes difficult for us for some of these smaller, older properties. But yeah, we left it in to have its influence on the neighborhood, but it does seem to be quite an outlier for the area.
But let me follow quickly, but you saw rental pictures, you couldn't get in, but you saw pictures and it's perfectly fine. It's not gorgeous, but it's not original built either, right?
Yeah, correct. I mean, we had seen there was a 3D tour last year that was still available. It's no longer available. So when it sold, it was in fairly nice condition. I mean, the effective age of, the 60s was reflective of what it was like. And then, I haven't seen the upper unit, but the lower unit, it has been fairly renovated.
Then that's probably newer though, renovation. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, any
It was-
final comments, Mr. King?
Oh, no, there's nothing to add. Thank you.
Okay, all right, it's just on the board.
Have we heard this before?
Yeah, last year.
Okay, because I didn't see it noted, but I'm sure.
It's all about higher up.
Confirmed at
more,
878, 700 last.
Yeah,
And I went out last year and it went out.
yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think the burden of proof is on the appellant, the noise level.
Yeah.
I mean, I-66 was there when they bought it.
And it's 5 feet higher than the neighbors or 10 feet higher.
Yeah.
There's no more or less noise there than the neighbors who have comparable assessments as does the appellant. And comparable houses. I mean, they're off a little bit. They're very, very similar.
You also have the jets over by the Potomac. You have that airplane noise that's consistent all day long.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to affect those
Well,
sales
that's
prices.
the other thing. It's just white noise. I mean, highway noise just versus Fairfax Drive where it's stop and go. I mean, I would be much more sympathetic to this comp on Fairfax Drive if they had shown up noise wise.
I think it's a cool rental unit because you got the caregiver suite in the basement. You can actually rent it out to somebody that's older and have a caregiver downstairs. That'd be awesome. Yeah. So I think it's actually a good deal.
Yeah, I think they got a good deal, a real good deal.
All right, I'm gonna move to confirm. the 885.
Second.
Gates. In favor?
Aye.
Aye. Again, the county is confirmed at 85,000. We have Mr. Sprinkle join us. Okay, Mr. King, we're gonna go to RPC 02021046, 3104 North Dinwiddie. Start with your.
So this property at 3104 North Dinwiddie Street is a 2-story single-family home with 5 bedrooms, 4.5 bathrooms, a finished basement, and a garage. The property was built in 1995. It still exhibits a high level of craftsmanship in comparison to other new homes built then. If you take a look at the photos that were on the listing from a couple years ago, it's still very high quality compared to some of the other homes we see in the 90s and 2000s. The appellant submitted an appraisal with an effective date of December 29th, 2020, so 3 years before the county's effective date of January 1st, 2024. This appraisal arrived at a value of $1,650,000, which actually was in line with the county's 2021 valuation. But again, that was 3 years ago. In the time since, the area around the subject property has seen a strong market for these nicer, larger 2-story homes. The department comparable sheet shows 3 of these with sale prices ranging from $1,815,000 to $1,975,000. The subject property is larger than all of the comparables provided by the department, has more bathrooms than 2 of them, and has more basement finish. The finish overall of all the properties is very similar. Comparable number 2 in particular, 4903 Williamsburg Boulevard, is very similar to the subject in size, quality, bathrooms, garage, and the build date. This property sold for $1,975,000 in October of 2023. So we feel this was a very strong confirmation of the appellant's assessment. While the subject property has increased in assessment value over the past few years, I think these sales in our comparable sheet are evidence that there's a strong market for these types of properties. There were only a few minor changes made to the subject property during the inspection, but the department feels that the comparables provided are strong supporting evidence for the assessment and recommend a confirmation of the 2024 assessment value of $1,904,500. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King. Any questions from board members? Oh, any final comments?
Nothing to add. Thank you.
Okay, system on the board.
I wanted to ask the appellant why they decided that it was worth less this year than last, but I
Right.
can't.
about the same thing. I mean, you got an appraisal, those were my notes from December of 2020, and it certainly is not worth less than what it was worth last year, so I'm fine with these.
Has
I
been
mean, we have
issued.
nothing else.
It adds a lot more to things.
Right, I'm gonna use for the county at 1,904,500. Second. Okay, Mr. Mendez, all in favor? Aye. Okay, opposed, no, it's unanimous, the county's confirmed at 1,904,500. Thank you, Mr. King.
Thank you.
Okay, we have Ms. Caloria and Jansen Miles on. No.
Jansen.
Good morning, Mr. Miles. Okay, we are moving to case 5 on the agenda. It's RPC 300144419, 445836 Street South. Mr. Miles, you can tell us, take 8 minutes and tell us about the property.
Yes, and just for the record, my name is Miles Jansen. It was
Oh,
transposed,
I'm sorry.
but that's totally fine. So yes, so I live at 4458 36th Street South. It's in the Fairlington Arbor neighborhood in South Arlington. The house, along with all the other homes you may be familiar with, were all built in the 1940s. They all have this essentially the same, square footage, the 1,000 square feet, livable space, and then a 500 square foot basement. My residence has 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. One of those bathrooms is in the basement. My understanding is that all of the homes in Fairlington Arbor and all of Fairlington are conducted in a mass appraisal, which I think made sense for a long period of time, and because everything was the same, right? However, over the years, in Fairlington, as people have stayed longer, there has been a lot of renovations to condos in the neighborhood. For example, adding rooms in the attic, or knocking out walls and creating open concept kitchens. And so as a result, what I've seen is that some condos sell for a lot more than other condos, and that's primarily due to the upgrades that are made. Unfortunately, because they're all appraised the same, you have situations where very new updated condos are appraised for the same tax rate as non-updated units, and it results in kind of an inequitable situation where more valuable properties are assessed less, or assessed at the same rate as less valuable properties. So I was before the board last year on this exact same issue. The board found in my favor and decreased the assessment by some value. And so essentially, I've come before the board again, saying that the comparables, comparable 1 sold for $630, comparable sold for $630, and both of those kind of updated kitchens, open concept kitchens, whereas comparable 3, which has the kind of retained wall, sold for $563. So that difference of $67,000, that is a difference. And so as a result, my unit also has a retained wall, and so I'm asking for a reduction in the assessment to a total of $560,000. That would be about a 1.85% increase from last year's assessment that was set by the Board of Equalization. Last year's value that was set was $549,800. So that is an increase. I understand that property values in Arlington are increasing. But for the same kind of reasons as last year, I'm asking that the value be decreased slightly by the Board of Equalization. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Telleria for the county, please.
Yes, good morning, everyone. The subject property is 4458 36th Street South. It is a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 1,000 square foot model at Fairlington Arbor. The appellant stated that he believes there is marketable difference between Clarendon units at Fairlington Arbor that have open concept kitchens versus the ones that remain intact with their original model. During the 2024 analysis, there were only 4 Clarendon model sales. The majority of these units appeared updated. 3 out of the 4 sales appear to have altered kitchen floor plans where they have knocked down the whole wall or part of the wall to create that open floor plan. As seen in the comp sheet, RPC 30013-187 sold in July of 2023 for $630,000. It was recently remodeled and had an updated rec room, also has an altered kitchen layout. RPC 30013261, sold in August of 2023 for $630,000. This unit included a 2019 HVAC, was updated, had the rec room, and also had the altered kitchen layout. And lastly, Comp 3 RPC 3013289, sold in February of 2023 for $563,000. This unit was updated with the original kitchen layout and has the rec room. The townhome style units at Fairlington create a very unique situation when assessing. While at most condominiums you normally don't see changes to layouts, the units in Fairlington are different and can see changes to the layout, bedroom, bathroom counts, and even finished square footages. Some units finish their attics, others finish their basements, and some create more open floor plans. This unique feature in Fairlington makes it difficult to isolate one single characteristic as the driving factor in market value difference. If you refer to page 37 in the BOE memo packet, you will find a copy of a study that was conducted reviewing all of the 1,500 Clarendon model sales for the last 5 years at Fairlington Arbor Condominium. The study is set up and divided by analysis year, starting with year 2020 on the top. The department was able to find both average and median ratios by classifying each unit based on its type of kitchen. Although cumulatively there is a difference in the median assessment to sales ratios of units that have the updated kitchen floor plans and those that don't, of an average of 6%, there is no way to really attribute that to other factors. Unfortunately, if you look closely at each year individually, the 6% change is not consistent. For year 2020, the difference between kitchen types was 1%. For 2021, it was 11%, as well as in 2022. For 2023, it was 2%, and for 2024, it was also 11%. You can also see that for year 2024, we had a very limited data set, which could not allow for a full picture of what is going on. There are external factors that could also skew the data. A few of the units were fully redone and they look dramatically different than other units, and we had one original unit sell. Level of renovation is a factor that we are closely monitoring now for condominiums, and we are now making adjustments to units that are in full original condition. Historically, we have seen that sales that come in early in the analysis tend to have higher ratios and could be a factor affecting the data set. Lastly, the last 5 years have seen multiple fluctuations in interest rates, which is why we cannot directly pinpoint that 6% average difference that is directly correlated to kitchen layouts. Therefore, in order to allow for equalization to all other 227 Clarendon units assigned to the model, I recommend confirming the assessment. I respectfully ask the board to confirm the 2024 assessment at $589,300. Thank you.
Okay, thank you both. Questions from board members? Mr. Metzger.
For the department, can you tell me what the average increase was at Arlington Harbor, at Fairlington Harbor?
Yeah, so there was 2 increases for 2024, 5%, which was seen for the majority of the models. We have started separating models with finished attic spaces, and those got a 10% increase.
Good, thanks.
Mr. Mendez?
Yeah, I was wondering, I just saw that the property was not inspected. Was there a reason for that?
Yeah, so I contacted the homeowner and he said an inspection was not necessary. During last year's appeal, there were photos sent in.
Tillery, if you take a minute to wrap up, please.
Yes, thank you to the board for hearing out the case. I do want to just remind everyone that the department has acknowledged that there could be a potential difference, and we have looked into it with this thorough study that was conducted. Unfortunately, we cannot fully pinpoint an exact numerical value to allow a differentiation to be quantified for kitchen layouts that are open versus closed. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jansen, if you take a minute to wrap up, please.
Yes. So I guess in terms of, I won't restate what I stated before, but there is a difference between kitchens that are open versus kitchens that have the retained wall. I kind of set that factor as a distinguishing way to distinguish between properties, because that's kind of something that is plainly obvious that you can see from real estate listings. And so for those reasons, I know the board lowered the assessment last year. I would request that the board lower the assessment again as well. Thank you.
Thank you both. It's just among the board members, Mr. Yates.
Well, the county has acknowledged that there is a difference, and it's a pretty good range over the years, 1% to 11%. There's a difference. But they've said we can't be sure why, therefore we're giving nothing. As far as a disc, because the kitchen renovations or other, what else is on the models. There's something that's there, from the appellant standpoint, I believe that. And the county acknowledged it, but throughout everything, because they can't be sure. It's even if it's a couple percent.
Yeah, it seems like comp 1 and comp 2 might be under assessed.
Yeah.
I was
Comp
thinking.
3 is,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
the subject are
For sure.
over assessed. Just based on the
Yeah.
3 sales points for 2023. So I was thinking we would just go with comp 3 as the sale price at 563. That would be a pretty, still an increase over last year's assessment.
Well, for some reason, the increase was 7.1%, which is 40% or higher, a little more than 40% higher than the average of that.
Right.
This
because we
community.
Lowered it last year.
Oh, no, I understand that. And that's why I think why it went up. I'm suggesting, I don't know that, but that's why it was more than the 5%, 40%, more than the 5% for very similar properties. And there's nothing unusual or odd or good, bad, or indifferent about this unit. I don't see why it wouldn't just go up what everything else went up on average. In part, to ratify the county's assessment or consideration that it's hard to know exactly which improvement does what where for such a similar kind of community. So if I'll go with I believe the county, and I'd say just go with the average, which makes it by the way, 577, 290. Yes, 577, 290 as opposed to 589, 300.
And what's the deduction?
5% increase
Over what we had.
Oh,
over what we had, because that's why we're here. We're the final arbiter.
That is a couple percent lower than what the county.
Right.
Which they acknowledge there is difference in those units.
Sure,
But they don't know what that is.
that's right. So I'm
Throw out the name.
ratifying that. Okay, you don't know. Let's just keep it simple.
3%, right?
Similar units were on the market, maybe one with the all down or partially down, puts up over the one that's not.
Clearly, they're worth more, 80, 90,000 more.
It seems like, yeah, at least 70, 80,000.
Let's make it Greg's company before 80,000.
All right, where are you?
I just applied the 5% average increase to the assessment last year since you guys moved on that, and I got 577, 290.
But you got.
Yeah.
I can live with that. I was just looking at the number that was, the assessment from last year, which was 564. The reason I looked at that is because there's another 11 units that are assessed at that 560. Just to equalize them, but with the same level of those units. So, percentages, I'm okay with.
That's a 12 grand reduction. Is that about what it would cost to do that, Mark?
No.
Multiply that by 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not going that far, I can assure you. I mean, that's.
I don't know. I'm kind of think we should go with Greg's figure, but I don't know that they're.
I'm okay with Ken and Johnny's just because it's only one. We've got one sale comp. I'd rather look at kind of a deduction the way they've done it.
Yeah,
versus
one
the-
sales comp's always scary.
Yeah.
Maybe it was all cash, who knows?
Mr. Mendez.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to reduce the assessed value to 577,290.
About 300.
Oh, we'll call 300, sorry.
Yeah, we round up. I second.
Based on the calculation.
Motion a second by Mr. Mendez, or I'm sorry, by Mr. Matskin, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. It's, assessment is reduced to 577,300. And last year's assessment, reducing it by 5%. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and the screen, if you just turn your camera on. The screen, are you there?
Yes, just one up. There we go.
Okay, there you go.
Hooray.
Okay, last case on the agenda is RPC 17041-397 at 1011 Arlington Boulevard. The screen, you can start with your 8 minutes and tell us about this property, please.
Yes, thank you. So I am requesting a reduction in the property tax assessment because the current assessment level is $40,300 above its most recent sales price and appraisal from May of 2022. Obviously, kind of during the COVID times and the hot real estate market, I think probably that the selling price was accurate for the market at the time. The reason why I'm requesting a reduction in the assessment is because the 3 listed comparables for the assessment period that were all relative 2 bedrooms, similar number of baths, they were all tax assessed at less than their most recent sales value. And my current assessment is $40,300 above its most recent sale value. The requested reduction, the way that I came up with that number is I looked at the percentage difference in the most recent sales price of the comparables versus its current tax assessed value. I took the most conservative, so the smallest number, and I used that percentage from my most recent sales price, and that's how I came up with the number in the 290s. And one point I do also want to make is I understand because I do have a top floor unit that there are some additional, I don't know what to say, categories that might make the assessment higher, which were noted in the sales packet of something for $26,000 and then also $700. And I would just like to point out that looking at the 3 comparables from this the assessment period, if you add that $26,700, they all, if you add that same amount to all of the 3 comparables, they still are all less than my current sales price, most recent sales price of $308,000. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Telleria for the county, please.
Yes, thank you. The subject property is unit 1116 at the River Place Co-op. It is a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 780 square foot penthouse model. It is on the 11th floor of the River Place South building. It has a floor adjustment of $700 and a view adjustment of $26,000. The unit is one of 8 penthouse units that are located where the former restaurant used to be in River Place. The appellant stated that the property is assessed more than fair market value due to the land lease at River Place, and she believes it is not equitable with other units there. There are 8 penthouse units that were created at the River Place after the sale of the former restaurant. These units were created in 2012, unlike the remainder of River Place, which was built in 1955. All of the penthouse units are a one-of-a-kind model. The subject's model currently has a model base value of $253,400. Per the last listing pictures, the subject has partial views of the river, Georgetown, and Roslyn. The subject sold during the 2023 analysis period for $308,000 on May 4th, 2022. The listing states it was quote unquote priced to move well below assessment. The sale had an assessment to sales ratio of 1.3, and a 1% reduction was applied to all of the units at River Place during that year, 2023. Last year, the subject property received a reduction after filing an appeal application due to 2 factors. The department decided to bring down the model-based value as well as the view adjustment closer to that of unit of Penthouse 3. This was more of a correction in order to allow for equalization with similar penthouse units. There were 77 open market transactions at River Place during the 2024 analysis period, and multiple changes were made. Most two-bedroom models received a 3% increase to their model base values, except penthouse units. Penthouse units did not receive any change from their 2023 assessments. There were no sales of penthouse units for the 2024 analysis period. The following are a couple of the two-bedroom sales. Unit 1004 sold on June of 2023 for $355,250. This unit is a two-bedroom north 1,015 square foot model. This unit had a floor adjustment of $625, had modern finishes, and at the time of the sale, it had an assessment to sales ratio of 73%. Unit 1031 sold in June of 2023 for $320,000. This unit is an 884 square foot two-bedroom unit on the east building. There is an adjustment for the balcony of $1,200, a floor adjustment of $625, and a view adjustment of $37,000. Unit 906, also a two-bedroom 884 square foot unit on the east building, sold in June of 2023 for $250,000. This unit has a slight floor adjustment of $550 and a balcony adjustment of $1,200. All of the aforementioned units received that 3% increase. Penthouse units, due to their positioning and creation, were treated with a special uniqueness. Of the penthouse units that we have, there are only two bedroom penthouse units. The subject and unit 1117, which is a 2-bed, 1-bath plus den, currently assessed at $425,000. All of the penthouse units have a more recent built date and are not the same as other units of similar size. Each penthouse unit has its own model, and all penthouse units generally trend together. Given the adjustments that occurred during the 2023 appeal and a review of the 2024 analysis, I kindly ask the board to confirm the value of the 2024 assessment at $348,300. Thank you.
Thank you both. Questions from board members? Mr. Metzger.
I have one of the department. These buildings, of course, east, north, south, west are all the same. They're oriented a little bit differently. I'm sorry, view value. How can you have zero view value for comps 1 and 3? Are they close in and all you do is see the perpendicular arm coming out? What is that?
So the views at
versus this one's way out at the end, you can see 270 degrees.
Sort of. So the views at River Place are specifically for units that have any of the River, DC, Georgetown views. We're not adjusting for Roslyn skyline or anything like that. So yes, comparables that have view value at 0 are completely not facing east river, any of that.
Oh, interesting. All right. Thanks.
This is the one with the ground lease, right?
Yes, yes.
All right, so can you just remind me when that expires?
32 years, I think.
What's the expiration date on the ground lease? For the county?
I'm not 100% sure. I know we're a little under 30 years before the land lease expires.
Yes, it's 2052, so it's around 28 years. So less than 30 for, mortgage purposes.
Okay, and I in the appraisal you attached, it's got the HOA or the monthly fee at $743. Is that accurate? That seems a little low for a penthouse.
And
That's correct, yes.
Okay, good deal. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Pellery, if you take a minute to wrap up, please.
There's no further information to add. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Green. If you take a minute to give us any final comments.
Yes, thank you so much for your consideration. Just one note, I would say on my apartment, it does not have a view of Georgetown, but it does have a view of Iwo Jima. It's kind of back, so it sees more of the the North Roslyn skyline. And then again, I just, would like to reiterate with the most recent, sales, while they were either a similar price or slightly above what I paid for mine, all of them have been tax assessed at less than $300,000. And even if you include the view and the additional kind of assessments for the location of my property. I still believe that with it being assessed at $40,300 more than its most recent sale price, that is tax assessed high. Thank you.
Thank you both. Okay, so some of the board members. Is everybody else?
Last thing I heard was maybe the value of the view isn't as the department understands it to be. It's really not a sweeping list of the river and this, that, and the other.
Well, but if you look, I think the difference is two. That's got the better view and it's at 37,000. Yeah, so I mean, it's getting some.
That's the top view.
That's the primo. I mean, the tough thing is these are comps, like the county said, of the original units, and this is a sale of the newer penthouse.
Sure, which is new, and it's taller ceilings. I was in there when it was got.
Yeah, I was too. And all of them are, all the penthouses are the same.
Right. I mean, if one of the
Yeah.
penthouses had sold, it'd be a different story, but.
They're all valued the
Tough
same.
one.
I'm sorry, Mark, all the
All the
penthouses are
penthouses
valued the same.
Same.
That answers that.
I think the others are low. Which, in all honesty.
Mm-hmm. I think that sticks out.
I'll go ahead and move that we go from the assessment of 348, 300.
Second that.
Mr. Mendez, favor? Aye.
Madam
Oh.
Chairman, I'm gonna abstain. I've talked to the
I
attorney.
generally abstain at the beginning of it, but that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't need a reason.
Okay,
Okay, so, Mr. Lawson is abstaining from the vote.
Does he mean recusing himself? You said at the beginning.
no, I'm just not voting. I don't think I have a conflict that prohibits me, but I just
Okay,
don't want to vote
I want to know that.
since I'm not
particular-
impacting the result.
We're beyond.
No, he's not
right?
recusing himself. He just chooses not to vote.
Yeah.
Never
You
seen.
can't vote, I'm sorry, if you're not abstaining, you can't.
I'm
Okay.
abstaining.
We don't abstain, it's yes or no.
Why can't I not vote? I don't want to vote either way on it.
Because you can't make a decision?
No, I have talked to the attorney or I've had a conversation or two with the attorney for the co-op. And I just don't think, I don't have a conflict. I haven't been hired or anything, but I just don't think I should vote.
Okay. Again, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. And one can't make a decision.
501.
501.
Yep.
Okay.
It's a hockey
Funds
draw.
Confirmed at 348, 300. Thank you.
No points.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
Who was it?
It's not, he's abstaining, he can't vote.
All right.
All righty, that completes the agenda. Any business?
Next
County,
week is
Derek?
Tuesday.
Nope. Okay, then we will adjourn here at 10:18, reconvene next Tuesday. Not Wednesday, next Tuesday, the 14th at 9 a.m. and it is in person.
In
All right.
person.
In person.
Tell me when we're